Ever wonder what keeps those factory lights on and humming?
It's not magic, but it's close.
We're diving deep into the world of production engineering technicians.
These are the folks who keep those production lines moving, the problem solvers, the tech wizards, making sure products go from idea to reality on time and working right.
And with all the automation happening these days, this job, well, it's more important than ever.
Absolutely. You need someone to connect the dots between complex systems and the people running them. That's where production engineering technicians come in.
And that's what we're diving into today. We're talking interview prep, using real questions to help you land that job, whether it's your first or you're moving on up.
It's not just about memorizing answers, though. It's about knowing what they're really asking. What skills are they looking for? What impression do you want to make?
All right, let's just jump right in. First question. What inspired you to pursue a career as a production engineering technician? I know it's easy to say, I like working with my hands, but how do we make that answer pop?
You've got to show passion. Don't just state a fact, bring them along on the journey. Maybe a childhood project sparked your love for building.
Right, like did you take apart the toaster and put it back together?
Exactly. Or maybe you were blown away watching an assembly line for the first time. Weaving in that personal touch, well, it makes you memorable.
It shows you're genuinely interested, not just looking for any job. Okay, so what about things to avoid with this question?
Don't be generic. Saying you're a hard worker or detail-oriented, well, that's every job. Get specific. Maybe you're drawn to efficiency challenges, or you geek out on new technology.
So connect those dots. Show them how your interests directly relate to being a production engineering technician. Speaking of, our listeners are a sharp bunch. They've seen the career guides. What's something from those we can use here?
Well, one thing that sticks out is the variety in this role. One day you're analyzing data to fix a bottleneck, the next you're on the floor, working with a team to get things running. If that kind of environment gets you fired up, let them know.
It's about showing them you don't just want a job, you want this job.
Right. You're not just sending out 100 resumes, you're invested in this.
And that actually brings up something really helpful. Have you ever used RoleCatcher? Their AI can analyze your answer and make it even better.
It's like having a career coach in your pocket.
Exactly. Okay, let's move on to question 2. How do you handle tight deadlines and unexpected changes in production schedules?
Ah, yes, because in manufacturing, rarely anything goes as planned.
So how do we answer this honestly without sounding like a robot programmed for stress?
Stories, they're your secret weapon. Instead of saying you're good under pressure, show them. Tell them about a time you faced a similar challenge, a project that suddenly changed, a crazy deadline you had to meet.
Yeah, because that not only shows you can solve problems, it gives a glimpse into how you handle pressure.
Yeah.
What kind of follow-up question do you think they might ask?
They might ask, what did you learn? Or even, how would you do it differently now? Reflecting on those experiences, showing growth. That's important.
It's not just what you did, it's how you've grown. All right, question number 3 gets a little technical. Can you describe your experience with lean manufacturing principles?
Don't let the jargon scare you. Basically, lean manufacturing means working smarter, not harder. Eliminating waste, making things flow, being as efficient as possible.
So even if you haven't worked in a specifically lean environment, think about times you've found ways to be more efficient. Maybe you've cut down on wasted time or materials.
Exactly. That's lean thinking in action. And interviewers eat that up. They want to hear how you've applied that. So think back to a time you improved a process, even a small one. Maybe how you organized your workspace or streamlined communication.
It all adds up. What are some ways our listeners can prep for this type of question, especially if they're just starting and haven't had a chance to actually do these things in a job yet?
Research. Read up on lean manufacturing. Learn the core principles. Look at real companies using it well. And don't be afraid to admit you're still learning. Enthusiasm goes a long way.
Right, you can say, I'm really eager to learn more about lean manufacturing and how to use it in this role. Who wouldn't want to hear that?
It shows you're invested in growing, right? Moving on from efficiency, question 4 asks, how do you ensure production processes meet quality standards and comply with regulations?
That attention to detail is key here, right? It's not just getting it done, it's getting it done right.
Yeah.
Every time.
Exactly. Interviewers want to know you're serious about those standards. Don't just list regulations, give them examples. Did you ever catch a problem before it became a disaster?
Right, like you saved the day with a paper clip and some duct tape.
Well, maybe not that, but you get the idea. Were you part of setting up a new quality control system? Those stories really stick with people.
Shows you get the why behind the rules, not just the what. What if someone's newer to all this? They haven't had those factory floor experiences yet. How do they answer this?
Think broader. Even school projects, volunteering, even a side gig where there are times you had to be super careful and follow procedures. Maybe you even set high standards for yourself.
So even if their resume doesn't scream quality control, those skills still matter. Okay, question 5 is a classic. Can you describe a time you identified a problem in a production process and fixed it?
Yeah, this is where you show off those analytical skills. The STAR method is your friend here. Situation, task, action, result. Set the scene. What was your role? What did you do? And what happened because of it? Numbers are great here too.
Right. Saying you improved something is good, but saying you boosted efficiency by 15%, well, that gets attention. What about traps to avoid? We don't want anyone selling themselves short.
Don't downplay your wins. Even if a problem seems small, what impact did solving it have? Maybe you saved the company time, money, maybe even prevented a bigger mess later.
Shows you're thinking big picture, not just about checking boxes on your to-do list. Before we move on, quick reminder about RoleCatcher's AI feedback. How does that actually work?
It's like having someone who specializes in job applications read your answers. You type it in, RoleCatcher analyzes it and tells you how to make it stronger, clearer, targeted to the job you want.
Like a secret weapon for job hunting. All right, question 6. How do you prioritize tasks and manage your time in a production environment? Time management, that's the struggle, isn't it?
It's universal, but yeah, in a fast-paced environment like production, it's crucial. They're looking for those organizational skills here.
And not just listing tools, but how you've actually used them.
Exactly. Give them an example. Maybe you used a project management app to handle a bunch of deadlines, or you have a system for knowing what's urgent. Show them it works in the real world.
Proactive and adaptable. Okay, question 7. How do you collaborate with other teams, like R&D or quality control, to make sure production is running smoothly?
Teamwork time. Communication, interpersonal skills, that's what this is about.
Mm-hmm.
Production engineering technicians don't work in a bubble. They're always working with other departments.
This is a big, complicated dance, right?
Yes, and you got to make sure everyone's hitting their cues.
So how can people show off those dancing skills in an interview? What kind of examples really work here?
Think about times you had to bridge the gap between tech stuff and non-tech stuff. Maybe you had to explain a complicated engineering thing to someone in a different department, or you got everyone together to brainstorm a solution.
Those typical interactions from the career guide would be perfect here, wouldn't they?
Totally, like a cheat sheet for the kinds of collaborations you'd be doing. And don't forget those soft skills. Listening, communicating clearly, being willing to compromise. Those are huge GE.
Show them you're not just a tech person, you're a team player. Because ultimately, it's about everyone succeeding together, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of which, question 8 tackles a big one. How do you ensure safety protocols are followed on the production floor?
Safety is non-negotiable. And just saying, I follow the rules, that's not enough. They want to see you're proactive, that you take charge when it comes to safety.
So how do you go above and beyond the obvious here? How do you really show that commitment?
Specific examples. Maybe you spotted a hazard and fixed it. Or maybe you had to coach someone on proper procedures. Doesn't have to be dramatic. Even small things matter.
It's that idea of looking out for the whole team, not just yourself. What about those who are newer to this and haven't had to enforce safety protocols on the job yet?
Show them you're hungry to learn. Maybe you've been researching best practices, or you're excited to take any safety training they offer. That's being proactive.
Love that.
Oh.
It's not just what you know now, it's your willingness to keep learning. Okay, final question for this deep dive. Can you describe a time you had to troubleshoot a technical issue on the production floor? This feels like those hands-on problem-solving skills in action.
It really is. Time to let those technical skills shine. Walk them through your process. How'd you figure out what was wrong? What tools did you use? Don't be afraid to get a little techie, but, explain it so everyone listening can understand.
Find that balance. Show off what you know, but make it relatable. It's like, imagine your printer's going haywire, but instead of ink, it's a part holding up the whole factory.
Exactly. And just like you troubleshoot your printer step by step, lay it out for them. Did you use a multimeter? Analyze error codes. Show them you know how to dive in and get things running again.
Because those problems always come up, right? Okay, before we wrap up, Gotta give RoleCatcher another shout out. We talked about the feedback, but for anyone who's serious about nailing these interviews,
Yeah.
what else does RoleCatcher do?
It's not just about the answers, it's about the whole job hunt. Did you know it can actually look at a job description and tell you which skills to emphasize on your resume and cover letter?
No more generic applications, right?
Yeah,
It's about standing out from the crowd.
exactly. And for those pre-interview jitters, we've all been there, they even have a video practice feature. Record yourself answering questions, and the AI gives you feedback on your body language, how you sound, even the words you use.
Like having a personal coach and a film crew. This all sounds amazing, but it's got to be expensive, right?
Nope. They have a free version with tons of features. And if you want to go all in, the RoleCatcher Copilot AI is really reasonable, especially considering how much it can help you land that job.
So there you have it, your crash course in acing that production engineering technician interview. From showing your passion to nailing the technical stuff with a little help from our AI friend, RoleCatcher.
And remember, it's a field that never sits still. New tech all the time, so you always got to be learning. But at its heart, it's about problem solving, making things better, and that feeling of seeing something you helped create out there in the world.
So go for it. Embrace the challenge, shape the future of production. Until next time, happy learning.